one-shot is a standalone issue or chapter. Plenty of great anime and manga have had their humble beginnings starting off from this format. In this program, I read and review official releases in hopes of finding potential series and or adaptations, or something fun at the very least. Heyo manga readers! Today's one-shot slot is focused on the title ILYA. It's a 71-pager written and illustrated by Koji Narita. As far as what I found, this is the only work this author has under their belt. Cutting to the chase of what I think of this issue, I highly enjoyed the content of this story considering the approach of the subject. Their art style is fitting, the writing dives in with a bleak but nuanced perspective, and the concept is very engaging. Even with my personal take on this, I'm open to other opinions for those who have read this title already, and I'd encourage you to leave your takes in the comments down below. But no more stalling. Let's get into the rundown. The story focuses on Fugo, a young exorcist with a mean hatred for demons. He's dead set on showing no mercy to demons as well. Contrary to this, his mentor, who recognizes his abilities as a worthy exorcist, worries about his oversight of those he exorcises being humans that are possessed, not demons entirely. To divert that negativity into something positive, the mentor recommends Fugo to go and meet a possessed individual by the name of ILYA. Of course, in their first encounter, Fugo is very vitriolic towards ILYA and showcases his stance on her kind. Considering this, ILYA introduces herself very cordially as a high-ranking demon who just so happens to be a best-selling author. Under a pen name, of course. The bit of sympathy Fugo displays is for the body that's being taken over for what he considers to be a worthless purpose and pleasure-based only. ILYA rebuts with the idea of the world not just being solely for humans, and some of their actions have purposes to further only human longevity at the expense of non-humans, which she finds just as heartless. With their differing opinions, ILYA asks where does this hatred of demons come from, and Fugo reveals it's from the moment his family was slaughtered by a demon. The clarity from this makes ILYA point out how lonely and lost Fugo is from this hatred, with the answer being that he should forgive himself more than anything. He leaves furiously, but has this introspection of what ILYA said. Fugo can't deny the truth of it all. As he walks through town, he comes across a bookstore and decides to stop in to buy one of ILYA's books. He's conflicted on how a demon can genuinely reach so many humans with her stories, but nonetheless, the story resonates with Fugo. 2 days later, he meets with ILYA again, telling her that he read her book, and she can tell it moved him. Fugo becomes curious and asks why she writes novels at all, and then ILYA explains that she has a desire to become human. It's not something completely achievable due to the nature of being a demon, but she feels that she can reach humanity vicariously through her own writings. There's a bit of a breakthrough for Fugo. He becomes more interested in knowing ILYA, and from that, they continue to see each other more often. This development begins to brighten Fugo's perspective on demons, and that makes the mentor all the more proud of him. With a twisted turn of events, ILYA begins a killing spree that takes 16 lives in the Institute. She was sentenced to be executed, and Fugo becomes aware of this 3 days after the decision. He confronts ILYA in her cell with weight on his heart and doubt of what he's heard about her. Asking her what could have been the reason for her actions, ILYA gives Fugo a very dreadful response of her just wanting to kill on a whim. Oddly enough, She wants to disregard the subject and delve more into Fugo's past, proposing that she will share more about herself if he goes first. Fugo expresses what happened that night he lost his family, where he was woken up by a noise he didn't find out of the norm, but was shocked at the sight of everyone slaughtered by a mysterious figure. He ran into town and was lucky enough to come across an exorcist that could slay the demon and save his life. ILYA doesn't believe that, saying his memories are altered. Fugo is disturbed by her comment, but she offers to help him remember what actually occurred. At the same time, we're given context by Fugo's mentor of the event, where it's revealed that he was the exorcist that night and the actual culprit was Fugo. The mentor exorcised the demon, but the weight of the guilt and trauma almost broke Fugo. So in order to save him from himself, the mentor gathered other exorcists to help rewrite this horrible memory. ILYA is tormenting Fugo with the reality of him murdering his family, even though he was possessed and unwilling. As a way of dealing with this burden, ILYA tells Fugo to offer his body to her. Fugo questions the honesty of their entire relationship, but she further expands on being truthful by stating she's always wanted to be human, but by chance of being born a demon was never able to, thereby having her own deep-seated hatred for humans. Fugo, having everything he thought he knew fractured before him, begins to pray. ILYA finds joy in his despair and belittles him in this horrific moment. In the last few moments of the story, we're shot through the next few years into a conversation between two exorcists discussing the past event, letting us know that Fugo unfortunately becomes possessed and is on the run. The chapter closes with a shot on a new book by ILYA's pen name, ending the story on a very somber tone. Alright y'all, it's time to criticize. I'm going to lay out a couple of upsides and downsides of this issue that ran through my mind while reading, starting with the upsides. The nuanced dive into existence. The story has questions of opposing natures between two forces in the beginning and end of the one-shot, such as loneliness being the absence of love, darkness being the absence of light, and demons being the absence of angels. Addressing the gray area of existence was done well in this story, showcasing the possible good being done by people through horrible means, such as experimentation on animals and other creatures to better the human experience, makes the question of weighing the value of life sacrifice all the more compelling, especially when the roles are reversed. Finding the proper balance to coexist with polar opposites was something the mentor has high hopes for, but since everything isn't so black and white, it seems the path to find the answer will have uncomfortable twists and turns. Character perspectives are understandable. The three perspectives we're given come from Fugo, ILYA, and the mentor. Fugo's perspective of someone unaware of their guilt and hypocrisy towards demons, since his memory was warped, is more empathetic. Of course, his abrasive introduction is something I'm sure most will fall into, given what he's experienced and believes in. But to constantly have this anger while striving for positive impact can muddy up the waters involving core beliefs and accountability. We're not perfect, but the goal is to make steps towards being as fair as possible as we navigate through life. ILYA's perspective of a demon whose nature seems to have constant malice, but has the desire to be rid of it, is more sympathetic. Though we'll never know the emotional experience of demons, the fact that by nature they have the drive to cause mayhem at the expense of humans is pretty sad. She does bring in a critical view of how humans do horrible things in service of themselves at the expense of who they deem to be lesser than, propping up the idea that they are just as susceptible to that treatment as well. The mentor's perspective of someone with immense optimism for those who have polar opposite natures to coexist is respectful. It's the most rigorous position to have, considering you'd have to take on both sides and their strife to reach a middle ground, especially when the gap of understanding is so vast. You can honor the goal, but the approach for the result has to be realistic and honest. Now for the downside. The subject matter can be niche. It's not the biggest downside, but if I had to give it a downside, it's that the concept can turn off a lot of people from reading it, especially those who hold religion close to themselves. Outside of that, illustrating a dark fantasy genre has been achieved. Well, everyone, that was my breakdown for the one-shot ILYA. As for my opinion to its potential of being adapted into an OVA and/or series, I'd hope for an OVA. A self-contained special with some nice art direction to reflect the way the story was delivered, I think it would be a nice animation. But again, the subject matter feels niche and abstract enough that it may not be a general capture for audiences. But nonetheless, I'm gonna keep some hope out for it. And with that, I'll stop the slide. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Until the next spin, everyone.